Welcome to my channel where a HOA member thinks he's actually in charge, but gets put in his place by an even higher authority. Our next Reddit post is from Stickman93. My apartment complex has a homeowners association, which I pay dues for monthly. I'm currently renting here, but I plan on buying in the near future so that I can get a mortgage at a better rate than I can get right now. I don't own yet, but I do sit on the board of directors for the HOA. I say that because this story involves me being on the board, but it doesn't have anything to do with me being a renter or owner. It's just something that I wanted to clear up. The association manages many things, including landscaping, snow removal, 2 swimming pools, 2 hot tubs, a gym, a clubhouse, a business center, etc. One thing they manage is pest control, which is done quarterly. Normally, the exterminators come out once every 3 months and spray the outside of each unit and any common areas. The apartments are individually responsible for pest control inside the units, except for major infestations, which the association takes care of. The most recent treatment was around Thanksgiving. They couldn't come in the apartment during the holidays, so it was pushed back to the first week of January. One of the people I work with is extremely paranoid about bugs. He believes that they are constantly trying to find a way into his home, especially through the windows and doors. I don't think there's ever been an issue in his unit, but he has repeatedly asked me to make sure that the pest control company does a thorough job. Because of this, I take pictures and videos whenever the exterminators come so I can send them to him as proof. In December, while we were doing our quarterly walk around the property to look for any issues, we came across his unit. We knocked and he answered the door. I told him that the pest control company was there and he said he would let them in. So I continued walking. A couple minutes later, I heard him yelling and I turned around and saw him running out of his apartment. He was yelling that the pest control company wasn't allowed to be there and that I needed to get them off his property. I stopped and told him that they had a pass from the front office to come in and treat the unit, and that if he didn't let them in, then they would leave and he would have to wait until the next scheduled treatment. He started spouting all kinds of rules about how treatments needed to be scheduled 24 hours in advance, but I told him that he was wrong. He went back inside his unit and slammed the door. I walked away. About 15 minutes later, he knocks on my truck and asks me why I didn't tell him that the pest control company was coming so he could schedule around it. I told him that I did, but he refused to let them in. He also demanded that I reimburse him for any damages that might occur to his property. I told him that if he had let them in, then they would have treated around his car and he wouldn't have had any issues. He replies that he shouldn't have to deal with this at all, and I should just pay for his damages. I say that this sounds like you readmitting that you whoa and let the pest control company in, and he says yes. I wish I could have captured his expression at this point because it was priceless. I asked him if he understood that he would have to wait until the next scheduled treatment then, but he insisted that I pay for his damages. I told him that if he wanted to press the issue, then he could take it up with the board, but I doubted that they would approve reimbursing him for not letting the pest control company in. He replied that he'd talked to them himself and stormed off. So I go to the next meeting, it comes up in our agenda, and I bring up the situation. The rest of the board members were surprised to hear about it, since none of them knew about the issue. After hearing both sides of the story, they ultimately decide that he would need to take it up with the association as insurance company, since they were ongoing, to pay for damages caused by not letting the pest control company in. Plus, if they started paying for stuff like that, then what's to stop anyone else from wanting reimbursement for something similar? As far as the bug issue goes, they reminded him that the exterminators were only supposed to be treating the exterior anyway, and that he was still responsible for interior treatments. They offered to send him some coupons to help out, but he declined, saying that he didn't want their charity. He tried to argue that he was justified because of all the quotes from the exterior of the building, but was shut down when the board reminded him that those quotes were from the interior of the hallway and technically inside the unit. This left him with no other choice but to take it up with the insurance company. When he emailed the board about it, they forwarded it over to the insurance adjuster, who called him and set up a time to meet. At this point, the pest control company had already come by again and treated the exterior. So all that was left was to do the interior. The insurance adjuster met with him and they discussed all of his concerns. He showed her the damage that he believed was caused by the bugs, and she took pictures and wrote everything down. Afterwards, she told him that she needed to review everything before getting back to him. A few days later, he calls to ask for an update. She tells him that she reviewed the incident and denied his claim. She told him that since the quotes were taken from inside the unit, it was his responsibility to take care of, and that they would not be covering the costs. She also explained that they wouldn't cover it because the damage occurred as a result of him not allowing the pest control company to do their job, which was included in his rent. He argued with her, saying that he shouldn't have to deal with any of this and that someone else should handle it. But she told him that his lease clearly stated that he was responsible for the interior pest control and that the association was only responsible for the exterior. She also reminded him that he had the option of hiring someone else to do the interior, but he would have to submit a request for a quote and get approval from the association before hiring anyone else. She ends the call with him and he hangs up fuming. He leaves us a passive-aggressive note on the counter. The next day, he sends out an email to the entire neighborhood announcing that he has hired an attorney and that he plans on suing the association for all of this. I laughed and sent it to the board. Of course, they weren't happy about it, but there wasn't anything we could do about it. Legally, he has the right to hire an attorney and sue. So we just waited for his lawsuit to show up. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for my lease to end so I can buy my unit. I've been working with the association and preparing paperwork for them so that they can give me a quote for the purchase. My unit is also up for renewal, and I submitted a renewal application along with everyone else. The board meets to discuss all of the applications. Normally these meetings are open to the public, but this time they decided to hold it as an executive session since we were discussing resident information. He was informed that we were holding an executive session and that he was welcome to attend if he wanted to. He shows up and sits in on us. During the discussion about my application, I brought up the issue with him. I told them that we needed to either approve or deny my application as soon as possible so that I could figure out my options. I didn't want to hold up my purchase. At this point, the association was tired of dealing with him. One of the board members makes a motion to deny his application simply to spite him, to which he objects. The board all agree and vote to deny his application. He's pissed and storms out. Later that night, he sends out another email to the entire neighborhood, announcing that they have illegally denied his application and that he will be filing a lawsuit against them. Once again, I laughed and sent it to the board. One of them replies, "Good. Maybe the courts will force us to buy his unit." The next day, he sends out a final email to the neighborhood stating that he has filed a lawsuit against the association for denying his application. I saved all of these emails, screenshots of the messages, photos of the damage, and copies of all the leases and pertinent documents. When he files his lawsuit, he sends us a copy. The board forwards it to our attorneys who respond on our behalf. While this lawsuit is ongoing, his wife drops the biggest truth bomb ever. She posts on the neighborhood Facebook page that they are suing the association because it will force the association to sell him the unit at fair market value. And she says that they are planning on moving here. Apparently, they thought they would be able to strong-arm the association into selling him the unit for a below market value price. See, here's the thing. If you want to purchase a unit in a community like this, you don't just get to buy it. You have to apply and get the okay from the association before purchasing it. There are all kinds of stipulations and conditions that they can put on your purchase, such as requiring you to have a certain credit score, requiring you to pay all your HO and fees, and even having you sign a document saying that you understand the rules and regulations of the community and agreeing to abide by them. What they are essentially trying to do is use a lawsuit to bully the HOA into selling him the house below market value. And they thought that maybe by threatening to file a lawsuit, the HOA would just be like, okay, fine, we'll just sell you the unit because we don't want to deal with this. Well, they made a big mistake because they forgot one very important detail. The association didn't own the unit. I did. Yes, the association owned the master deed to the land and all the common areas, but the individual units were owned by the residents. So they tried to use a lawsuit to bully the HOA into selling me my unit. By this time, the attorney had already dropped all of this information in the lawsuit. So I guess that means they have a problem. Now, because I didn't have a problem with this guy, I didn't mind if they sold me my house. So I guess they're gonna have to come up with a new plan. This is a great story, but it's even better when we read the comments. This comment really stood out to me. Karma is a wonderful thing. Also, we have to remember that Op isn't a part of the HOA. He's just sitting on the board because he wants to be involved. He has no power. The HO is a separate entity from Op and therefore can't just be like, well, we'll just sell you the house. Just saying. This story seems very wholesome and normal until the end, when all of a sudden it's revealed that Tom Cruise is actually an alien that has been living among us humans this whole time. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.